The Mavericks' decision to trade Luka Doncic, a generational talent, to the Lakers for Anthony Davis has to be one of the most puzzling moves in NBA history. Everyone saw the disaster coming from a mile away. Moving on from a top 5 player just because of injury concerns, only to bring in another injury-prone star like AD, was a questionable choice at best. And sure enough, AD couldn't even stay healthy for his debut, getting injured in his very first game with the team. To be fair, Davis played incredibly well before going down. The game was against the Rockets, a high-intensity matchup, and despite facing backlash from furious Mavs fans who were outside the arena with signs reading "Fire Nico" and "Sell the team," he delivered one of the best debuts in franchise history. He started off dominant, putting up 14 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists on 6 for 8 shooting in the first quarter alone. By the end of the game, he had 26 points, 16 boards, 7 assists, and 3 blocks. More than just the numbers, he completely dominated Alperen Sengun, blocking the shots left and right and making him look like a mismatch. For a moment, it seemed like the Mavericks front office had a clear vision, focusing on defense, and AD was supposed to be the cornerstone of that philosophy. Nico Harrison even justified the trade by saying, "Defense wins championships." Based on that one game, it looked like he might have had a point, but of course, reality hit hard. Late in the third quarter, AD went down with the left abductor strain, and now he's expected to miss at least a month. The irony? The Mavs traded Luka to compete now, yet Luka was back on the floor for his Lakers debut, while AD is now sidelined. And Luka wasn't even at 100%, but at least he's playing. You see, it's so frustrating that Harrison didn't consider AD's extensive injury history when making this move. And that brings me to one of the most frustrating things Nico Harrison keeps repeating. And it's when he says, "We're built to win now and in the future." But what future? Trading away a 25-year-old superstar just entering his prime eliminates your future. Luka was just 1 year removed from leading Dallas to the finals, and they shipped him off. In return, they shortened their championship window to maybe 3 to 5 years with AD, assuming he can even stay on the floor. Even the win now part of the plan is shaky. The Mavericks are currently the 8th seed, barely clinging to a play-in spot. Meanwhile, the teams below them, the Kings, Warriors, Suns, and Spurs, are all threats to knock them out. The Kings had the toughest path after trading away De'Aaron Fox, but the Warriors added Jimmy Butler, and the Spurs acquired Fox to pair with Wemby. If AD struggles to stay healthy, Dallas could easily slip out of the playoff picture altogether. Even if they somehow hold on to the 8th seed, a play-in tournament featuring the Mavs, Warriors, and Spurs could be a nightmare scenario. If AD is unavailable and the Spurs roll out Fox and Wemby at full strength, Dallas could be one and done. And just like that, year 1 of the post-Luka era could go down as a complete failure. And what I view as a complete failure moving forward is anything short of winning a championship. Making a bold move like this naturally comes with those expectations, and I'm sure the Dallas fan base feels the same way. Initially, it seemed like fans felt a bit better after AD's debut because he looked great, and at the time, we all thought his injury was minor, but then the news broke that it was more serious than expected. On the bright side, at least AD has the All-Star break to rest, and with Kyrie replacing him in the game, he'll be missing fewer games overall. My question is, what does Kyrie think of all of this? There was never a realistic chance he'd stay with the Mavs for Luka's entire era, and his timeline aligns more with AD's, so it's possible that he's okay with the trade. On the other hand, if he has doubts about the move and doesn't fully believe in it, he could decline his player option next season. He's been pretty loyal to the Mavericks after all. He re-signed with the team in 2023, but things were a lot different then, and right now, the situation doesn't look great. One of the biggest issues Kyrie might have with this trade is that he was completely blindsided. He had no idea it was happening, and regardless of how people feel about Markieff Morris, he was also included in the deal, which matters because Kyrie is really close to him. In fact, Kyrie even pushed for the Mavs to re-sign Morris on a minimum deal just to fill the 15th roster spot. Their friendship runs deep, especially since Morris was one of the few who defended Kyrie during his issues with the Brooklyn Nets. So for the Mavs to not only make a major move without giving Kyrie a heads up, but to also include Morris in the trade, it just doesn't seem like something that would sit well with him. It almost feels like a power move made by the front office, a way of reminding players that they can shake things up and do whatever they want, and there's nothing that the players can do about it. What's interesting is that Kyrie, who's usually seen as the unstable one, has actually remained calm throughout all of this, while the franchise looks like the one in disarray. In a way, they backstabbed Kyrie by not showing loyalty. Remember, Kyrie took a pay cut to stay with the Mavs, which showed how much he believed in their vision. But now, with the team making big changes, if he chooses not to opt out, he could demand a significant payday, and given how they handled things, he likely wouldn't be willing to take another discount. This could put the Mavs in a tough spot. If they're unwilling to meet his contract demands, Kyrie could just start looking for a new team. After all, they traded Luka partly because he was due for a supermax, and that was proving that they're not trying to hand out massive contracts no matter how good you are. And if Kyrie pushes for one, it could mark the end of his time in Dallas. Personally, I wouldn't be opposed to Kyrie leaving Dallas. At first, I really liked his fit alongside Luka. He seemed content, and it seemed like he had really found a home. Kyrie probably felt that way too at one point, but now the team doesn't feel the same anymore, and honestly, from an entertainment standpoint, I want to see Kyrie in big playoff moments, which might not happen if he stays with the Mavs. On paper, this is still a strong roster, but injuries are the biggest concern. As fans, we sometimes lose sight of that, but if you ignore what the Mavericks just gave up in the trade, this is a really solid lineup. You have Kyrie Irving at point guard, Klay Thompson at shooting guard, PJ Washington at small forward, Anthony Davis at power forward, and Daniel Gafford at center. That's actually a really solid starting five. You see, one major positive from this trade is that AD now gets to play with an already strong front court alongside Derek Lively and Gafford. That takes a lot of pressure off of him since in LA, he was forced to play center despite being a natural forward. Defensively, AD is in a great situation, but no matter how good this team looks on paper, no one is ever going to forget that they gave up a player like Luka Doncic. And even worse for the franchise, Kyrie might not forget either. So what do you think? Is Kyrie Irving upset about the trade, or does he believe it was a good move? Tell me in the comment section below. Until next time, peace.